Hello students, in the previous lecture we have discussed how the gene of interest, which is called desired DNA or alien DNA, is extracted from the cell by using different types of enzymes. So now we are talking about how this gene of interest is cloned. It can be multiplied or it is expressed. So for that we need to introduce our gene of interest into host organism. We cannot directly introduce our gene of interest into host organism. The most commonly used hosts are Escherichia coli. We generally call it as E. coli. So if it is directly introduced, so this gene or desired gene or we call it as alien DNA can be degraded by the host cell. As a result, we require a carrier molecule that is called vector. We generally introduce our gene of interest into a vector and then this vector will carry this into the host organism. Fine. Now, we use different vectors. Plasmids are the most commonly used vectors. Cosmids, bacteriophages, shuttle vectors. We use retroviruses. We use all different types of vectors. But most commonly used vectors are plasmids. So in this lecture, we are not talking about the types of vectors. We are talking about the features of a vector. So vectors are engineered in such a way that easily we can link our desired gene and also separation from recombinants and non-recombinants. So the most common features that what we study for an ideal vector are: number one, it should have origin of replication first. Number two, selectable markers. Number three, cloning sites. We are calling them as restriction sites. Number four, size of the vector. These are the most important features. So first one is origin of replication. This is what generally we are calling it as ORI site. Any gene or a DNA linked to this sequence will multiply. If by any means, this is our gene of interest, for example, if by any means this gene of interest is introduced into a host organism. So this is our host organism. For example, this is E. coli. Into this host organism, if this is the genome of the host, by any means, if the gene of interest is inserted into the host organism like this, it cannot accept. It will degrade. So by using this ORI site, if we introduce it by using a vector, so ORI site, right, it is a specific site present on the chromosome which will replicate. So if a gene, a desired gene is linked with this sequence, it becomes the permanent part of the host cell genome, and so the host cell can multiply. So that is the reason why we need a vector. So as a result, for the vector, ORI site is important. So directly by introducing this in the host cell, it cannot, it will degrade. So if ORI site is present, so this is the replication site. So when once the alien DNA is linked with this sequence, then it becomes the permanent part of the host genome and host can multiply. Fine. And also this ORI site can control the copy number of linked genes. So how many copies the linked gene should multiply into, that is also controlled by ORI site. Next, number two. Selectable markers. These are the two selectable markers which I gave here. Mostly these selectable markers helps in identifying and elimination of non-recombinants and selectively permitting the growth of recombinants. So, selectable markers are those which help in identifying the and eliminating the non-recombinants and selectively growing the growth, selectively permitting the growth of recombinants. So, the most commonly used selectable markers are the genes or the sites responsible for antibiotic resistance. So, the most commonly used antibiotic resistant genes for E. coli are ampicillin, tetracycline, kanamycin, etc. Here I have shown you two. One is ampicillin, one is tetracycline. These are the two. And generally these antibiotic resistant genes are normally not found in the E. coli cells, right? But these are the selectable markers which we use for E. coli. Next, along with this, we are also using the LAC-Z gene, which encode for an enzyme called beta galactosidase. Can also be used as a selectable marker because this LAC-Z gene produces beta galactoside enzyme, and this beta galactosidase enzyme uses its substrate and produce a colored product. That means this substrate for beta galactosidase is chromogenic, right? So these are the selectable markers that are used for identifying the recombinants from non-recombinants. After this, we'll study how exactly by using selectable markers we can differentiate recombinants from non-recombinants. Next, number 3, third one. Cloning sites. We can also call them as restriction sites. So, in order to link the alien DNA, in order to link the alien DNA, which is also called desired DNA, a vector should have preferably a single cloning site for a particular restriction enzymes. So listen, this is all cloning site. This is a cloning site for restriction enzyme BAMH1. This is the cloning site for restriction enzyme SAL1. This is a cloning site for PVU1. This is for PST1. These are the cloning sites. Generally on the vector, This cloning site should be single. That means see, BAM H1 is only present at one place. It's nowhere else it is present. Because if multiple cloning sites are present, the vector is fragmented. As a result, we need to have a single cloning site for a particular restriction enzymes. And also, these cloning sites or restriction enzyme sites must be located on any one of the selectable markers. Where they must be present? On any one of the selectable marker. If they are present at the selectable marker, if by cleaving at this particular restriction enzyme site, and if we add our gene of interest, because of insertion of our alien DNA at this cloning site, because this is resistance against to tetracycline because of this particular marker, so now this recombinant plasmid do not show resistance against to tetracycline. This is how we can separate recombinants from non-recombinants. So these are cloning sites. Next, number 4. Size of vector. Always small sized vectors are preferable. We always go for small sized vectors. Small sized vectors are preferable for our cloning. Fine. So these are the 4 characters a vector need to have, right? So to make it very clear, to understand better how by using selectable markers we can differentiate recombinants from non-recombinants. So let us study. If I am using this plasmid vector is PBR322. It has 2 marker sites. One is tetracycline resistant and amphicycline resistant. And at tetracycline resistance, it has restriction sites BAM H1 and SAL1. Fine. For example, if I cleave and ligate the gene of interest at, for example, BAM H1 site. So this is my vector, PBR vector, and it has amphicycline resistance. This is tetracycline resistant. So I'm just calling it as, this is amphicycline resistance, this is tetracycline. These are the markers. Now BAM H1 is at the tetracycline resistant. For example, at the BAM H1 site, if I cleave and add my gene of interest, if I add my gene of interest, this is my gene of interest, or this is called alien DNA, or I can call it as desired gene or alien DNA or my passenger DNA. Now, because of adding alien DNA at the tetracycline end, because this tetracycline end is cleaved, now this do not show resistance to tetracycline. Now this is called recombinant DNA. If a host cell, this is the host cell, for example, this is anything like E. coli. If this host cell with such recombinant is placed in a medium containing tetracycline, it will not grow, it will not multiply, because its resistance against tetracycline is lost because of insertion of our alien DNA. This is what you call insertional inactivation. Because of adding our gene of interest at this particular site, now this will not show resistance against to tetracycline. So this is how these selectable markers are used for differentiating recombinants from non-recombinants. This is what in PBR vector we have such two marker sites. This is, drug resistant or antibiotic resistant marker sites. Now next one we'll see with the beta galactosidase. This is called blue-white selection. Blue-white selection. This is done with our LAGZ gene. The product of this gene is beta galactosidase. This LAGZ gene for beta galactosidase is the marker used in PUC vector. P for Plasmid University of California. This is your PBR 322. Plasmid Bolivar Rodriguez 322. This is PUC vector. In PUC vectors, there are no two antibiotic resistant markers. One antibiotic resistant marker and one is for beta galactosidase. So let us find out. This is your PUC vector. So for these PUC vectors, we have two marker sites. Two marker sites we have. This is ampicillin resistant marker, and this is the sequence for LAGZ. This is PUC8. This vector is PUC8 vector. This is for LAGZ, or I can say that this is LAGZ gene, which can synthesize beta galactosidase enzyme. So here on that LAGZ sequence, we have several cloning sites. Means I can just take it as like BAM H1 is there here. Many are there, like ECO R1, okay, and you are what you call SAL1. Many are there. So same thing, if I use PUC8 vector by using BAM H1, if I cleave it by using BAM H1 at the BAM H1 restriction enzyme, if I cleave it by using BAM H1, and at that place if I add my gene of interest, this is the gene of interest, the gene of interest, and this is for our convenience ampicillin resistant marker. This is your LAGZ marker. So because it is cleaved by adding our gene of interest, this becomes now recombinant DNA. Now, because the lag Z was cleaved at this place, if suppose a host containing such recombinant DNA is placed in a medium containing the substrate, it will not give blue color, it gives white color colonies because of the absence of this LAGZ gene, that is beta galactosidase enzyme. Suppose if this is the normal PUC8 which is containing LAGZ gene which can synthesize beta galactosidase is placed in a like substrate molecule, it will produce blue colored colonies, it will produce blue color, whereas it cannot produce blue color, it will give white color because its gene, that is marker, is cleaved by BAMH1 and we have introduced our desired gene at this location. So this is called as blue and white selection, and because of insertion of our gene at a selectable marker site, this chromogenic property, this substrate which becomes chromogenic, it loses its property because there is no enzyme. So when there is no enzyme, it cannot give blue colored colonies, it will give white color colonies. This is called, because that enzyme is not synthesized, this is called insertional inactivation. So because of insertional inactivation, it will give white color colonies. So this is how, by using selectable markers, the particular gene of interest, where is located, recombinants and non-recombinants can be differentiated, right?